Hello, everybody. Uh, my name is Greg, and I'm here with Trevor.
Hello.
That's him. We're over Skype. We are going to be participating in a discussion about religion. And full disclosure, neither of us are religious, but I am strongly against it. And Trevor, do you believe that we need it, or do you just think that it's good that we have it?
I would say that religion is necessary. I think it's helpful to a lot of people. I think it's important to be critical of it at the same token, but it absolutely should exist, I think.
Okay. Well, I guess I will start since this is my idea and I'm on the negative stance, I suppose. I think humanity has long outgrown it, like the need for it existing at all. Because the way I see it, that religion was created for three reasons: to explain what nobody had an explanation for, and that can kind of fall under the second reason too, which is like a cop out, so that people don't have to take responsibility for what they say or do. And the third one is that it's to control people, I guess, because it's saying, hey, everybody, God chose me for some weird reason to tell all of you that you have to all collect together in one place and give me money so that I can keep this up.
So basically, are you singling out organized religion, I should ask first, such as Christianity and Islam? Or are you against even spiritual religions like Taoism and Buddhism, for example?
Well, okay. Well, organized religion, I guess, where it's trying to make a bunch of people believe the same thing, and they select people in like a hierarchy of who God likes more to be able to teach everybody around them about what he said to them. So
I think the core principles of organized religions can be outdated. I think I can agree with that. But so since you're saying that spiritual religions are okay, like that I agree with. I think spiritual religions, as a bit of a side note, do more good for people than harm, especially things like Taoism, Buddhism. In fact, I personally think a lot of those teachings in those religions to take the good with the bad, go with the flow, everything happens for a reason, etc. I think we can all learn from that. As someone who's experienced a lot of personal things that were out of my control, that were terrible, I feel they equip me to handle things better, handle stresses better in the future. And I learned that through Taoism. And I think those spiritual religions are very important. As for organized religions, such as Islam and Christianity, which I assume you're referring to,
well, whatever. Like, there's been countless cults and stuff too throughout history. So, I mean, any of those is basically what I'm against, because it's
okay.
Yeah, because it's just another way for people to separate themselves from each other. Like we're Christians, and what we believe is like they can't even agree with each other within Christianity. Like, there's so many different variations of Christianity just because they've read the Bible and they've picked and choose which parts they want to think are right, and they ignore the rest of it. And like there's Roman Catholic, there's Anglican, there's Protestant, there's Presbyterian, there's Baptist, there's
Right.
the Westboro Baptist Church, and
I see what you're getting at here, but I think we've seen a lot of. You mentioned it being dividing, or you mentioned it dividing people. I think we've seen, at least for Christianity and sub-Christianity religions, etc., that divide isn't really as bad as it used to be. I think Christianity, which has had a very violent history, is nowhere near, in modern times, it's nowhere near as bad as it is today. In fact, I mean, do we ever hear reports about Christianity or Christian terrorism or anything being rampant or a major issue anymore? Another thing is, I understand you have people that donate money and they're like, oh, it's for missionary work and stuff like this, and and it's really not. It's a scam. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, like nuns, like Little Sisters of the Poor or Salvation Army, which are a Christian organization, they do help people, and they do use that money to house, shelter, and feed the poor and the homeless. And I think that's great. But obviously, in the same hand, there's people taking advantage of that as well. However,
televised missionaries and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that if we abolish religion, that's going to change. Or if religion didn't exist, hypothetically, I think people will always find, and this could sound like a deflection, but people are always going to find ways to be shady and shitty to each other and to take advantage of the lesser man or the people that are oblivious and etc. I don't think.
But religion gets them all together in one place and builds them up and tries to send them out on everybody else.
I get that, and like I said, it's important to be critical, but I do think for as much, especially in Christianity, I think it's tough to say whether Christianity specifically does more harm than good today. Because I could give you an example of a scenario where Christianity has actually helped someone. I'm a wrestling fan. One of my favorite wrestlers, top 10 wrestlers of all time, is Shawn Michaels. During the late 90s, Shawn Michaels had personal demons, struggles with alcohol abuse. He had a lot of issues, and he had a back surgery that put him out of action for 4 years. He wasn't sure he was ever going to wrestle again. And somewhere along the lines, he found God. And I remember first hearing this, and I still do this today. I was like, it kind of induces an eye roll. You're like, oh boy, they found God, but whatever. Yeah, right. But at the same time, is that really wrong? The guy was spiraling out of control, and he found God, and he's a better person for it. He's not an alcoholic. He's made peace with his enemies that he once had before. He lives a pretty honest life, and he was able to even come back and have like a second renaissance in his career and continue to inspire modern day wrestlers that I love today. AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, Dolph Ziggler. Like, without Shawn Michaels, these guys may have not have found their passion to do what they do in life. So there's an example of Christianity that it's genuinely helped someone. I understand that it's a crutch, and maybe he should have taken a different route to find peace with himself and not rely on religion. But at the end of the day, what do we know if he even finds that crutch had Christianity not been there for him?
Well, what about Christianity is what helped him? Like you said, he found God, but is that because he was stumbling around and some Christian person said, hey, I know what'll help?
I honestly don't know. It could be anything. Your guess is as good as mine. But either way, he turned to Christianity, he turned to the Bible, he turned to God, and he became better off for it. He might say some things that are, a little weird or foreign to non-religious people like us, but at the same time, he's not harming anyone. He's not harming himself, which is important to note anymore. And, he was able to pursue his career even further when many people thought that he wouldn't have a chance to do that again.
Well, what you said before about the there's no Christian terrorist attacks, you don't know that for sure because it could just be glossed over by the media because Christianity is so widely accepted in North America that
absolutely
anything that they do isn't going to be seen as a terrorist attack.
Absolutely not. And Christians, the in the same token though, Christians are still criticized very heavily, a lot more so than Islam or really any other organized religion. Honestly, I think Christianity is still number one in terms of people talking down to or thinking less of. And I understand that because of the violent, not just violent history behind Christianity, but the fraud involved and it's all the fraudulent behavior as well. Yeah. It's hard to defend at times, but I think people that use Christianity as a means to be a better person, I think that stuff we also don't see. We don't hear cases that much. I mean, aside from major celebrities like Shawn Michaels, like I mentioned, if you're a wrestling fan, you know who that is. Aside from that, you don't hear the good that Christianity does. I think a lot of stuff that comes through the filter, we focus on the negative a lot, and we only hear of the bad situations regarding Christianity and the negative that they've done for society. Whereas I don't think we hear enough of the good things that it's done as well.
Well, going to what you said about Christianity being more targeted and like criticized, that's probably because like the main criticism that most people have is that the Bible like contradicts itself because there's like the Old Testament and the New Testament, and one half completely contradicts the other because one half is telling you that anyone who doesn't believe in God needs to be mutilated and killed, which apparently includes people who are born with like disabilities or they're like no hands or whatever, any kind of actual physical deformation. That apparently is included. And then the other half tells you that like love thy neighbor, and if someone tries to steal from you, if they try to steal your jacket, well then give them your pants too. And if someone tries it, that's almost literally what one of the passages says. And another one says that if someone assaults you on the street, then turn your face so they can hit you on the other side too. It's
I can see the absurdity of like taking a book that has passages written in it like that seriously. But I feel like most moderate Christians today wouldn't. I feel like they don't take the Bible as seriously as you might think they do. I think they take the stuff like be good to thy neighbor and, be a better person. And, I think that's what the main focus is. I don't think people, especially moderate Christians, live word for word by the Bible. I think that's more of an extremist outlook, and those people still do exist. I don't doubt that, but like I said, I think the pendulum swing has come a little bit back to the center with Christianity. I think it's not as barbaric or as violent or as fraudulent now as it used to be. And if it continues that trend, then I mean, I just don't see any harm in it. Well, not necessarily any harm, but I think it does more good than bad, or it's on. If it's not at that stage yet, it has the potential to eventually get there.
There's probably less criticism of Islam because, like, looking through the Quran in preparation for this, I literally couldn't find anything other than anyone who's doesn't praise Allah, you have to kill them and dismember them.
It's
Almost
absolutely ridiculous.
Almost everything that I read was that.
Yeah, and this is unfortunate too, because I mean, I know so many. That's another thing, is I know so many moderate Muslims that are just very nice people, but the Quran, you're right, it's unbelievable, the things that are in there. If you were to live in, like, I personally don't think anyone in Western civilization could legitimately live under Islamic law. Like, it's that extreme, it's that barbaric. It just, it's like a different universe, honestly, compared to how Western civilization has become. It's kind of alarming. But again, Islam is another thing. Is I compared the pendulum swing of Christianity. I think Islam right now is at the
far right side.
Yeah, it's at the full swing right now. We're seeing, with ISIS, and of course all the terrorist attacks in Paris, and it's really bad right now. Whereas there's so many peaceful Muslims living in Canada and the United States, hundreds and thousands of them even. And I don't know. I think it's hard not to. How should I put this? It's hard to look at it objectively when all these terrible things are going on in the world regarding Islam. The Middle East is a mess, and there's tension everywhere in third world countries that are predominantly Islamic countries. So it's really tough to defend it at times, and that's one that I do have trouble defending right now. But peaceful Muslims do exist. So what's to say that 100 years down the road that Islam kind of comes back to the center? People stop taking these barbaric passages in the Quran so seriously and start using the teachings of Islam to just be a better person in general. I can only hope that happens.
And, well, I honestly can't see how any woman can be religious. If you look at what these books say about women, like, no woman shall have authority over man and be able to teach him. And if two men are fighting and a woman steps in to try and stop it, and this is the Bible, it's saying to cut her hand off and you shall not feel sad about it. And if a woman gives birth to a daughter, she is basically dirty for 66 days. I don't know why. Probably because of the 666 number of the beast, which is another ridiculous thing. Like, when I'm driving I bought my truck brand new, it had 100 kilometers on it. So are you saying that once it got to 666 kilometers, it was evil, but then just before and just after, it's not evil anymore?
Yeah, I'm not going to try and defend some of those extremist, ridiculous passages that the Quran and the Bible, especially the contents of those two things, some of them, yeah, they're laughable. But like I said earlier, I think people, at least moderate Muslims and moderate Christians today, will tell you that they don't take that seriously or even acknowledge stuff like that. We've all seen uh, even non-religious people, part of their history, completely disassociate with some part of their history. Japan, for example, with the rape of Nanking, you won't find anything related to that in their textbooks. It was one of the worst things to happen in human history, and Japan kind of wants everyone to forget about it. Yeah. And part of me doesn't want to blame them, because I mean, Japan's such a nice country. Everyone's so nice now, and to think that only a century ago something that barbaric happened, it's honestly mind-boggling.
Well, that's another thing, that these religious texts are so old. They're thousands of years old, that how can anyone still can take them seriously in any way? Like, you wouldn't take a biology text from 2,000 years ago and do surgery based on that, when people thought that sneezing was a demon coming out of your nose, and that's why they say bless you.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to try and say it's not ridiculous, that stuff. It is, but I mean, I think at this point it's also important to note that I think religion now, especially organized religion, it's not so much a way of life as it is an enterprise and a business. I understand that it's used to push, those extreme views still sometimes. I also understand it's used as an excuse to cover up things like greed, hell, even pedophilia, or any sort of extremely irrational behavior. But at the end of the day, especially now, it's mostly an enterprise and a business. I don't think people... I don't know. I'm actually curious. I'd like to actually even know how many Christians have read the entire, at least moderate Christians have even read the entire Bible. I've never actually done it personally, but I'm not religious, so.
Yeah. Well, another thing, a point that I want to make, I guess, is that when you raise people to read this book and have to believe everything that it says just because someone wrote it, that's training people to just accept whatever you hear as fact and not question anything and not think for yourself. And that's just gonna, it's a plague in itself on humanity, I think, because that's how you get BuzzFeed and Fox News and Donald Trump and SJWs.
I just don't think that disappears if you get rid of the religion. Honestly, I really don't think that if religion didn't exist, you would still have that, and to the same degree we have it today. I think abolishing religion would cause... I don't think it would cause a better world. It just kind of strips away excuses to behave the way people behave, but it won't take away the hatred and the seeds of hatred that are just seem to, or dismay in your fellow man, that people just naturally seem to have, religious or not. People inherently disagree with things from what they know. People develop biases at a very young age, and I think that's human nature more so than religion kind of pushing us in painting us with a certain brush, if you will.
Well, that's what I'm trying to accomplish with these discussions, is that I want people to think for themselves and take information from both sides and decide for themselves what they think is right, and to not try and push it on other people, but just say what they think and let everyone else make of it what they can.
Absolutely. That's the way it should be. And that's where getting into spiritual religions comes into play. Buddhism, Taoism, stuff like that. Go with the flow. Take in everything you can and take the good and the bad, etc. Take everything that happens, everything you hear, everything you see happens for a reason, and you take that how you will. I think that's important, and discussing things is the best way to do it, especially with other people. And it's important to not fall into echo chambers and not to have these discussions with people that are just going to agree with everything you say, because that's not going to create new ideas. That's not going to create solutions to problems. It's just going to create more cliques and a bigger divide amongst people in the end.
Well, I think I've pretty much made the points I want to make. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I think there's one parallel that I was going to draw between religion and guns, another topic that I know that you're passionate about. You like guns. You're so strongly against religion, but do you think it's fair to take that, for the people that use religion as a crutch to be a better person? Is it fair to ruin or to take religion away or to think less of a person because they're religious, just because there's some tyrants in the world that take advantage of religion to, what have you, be a fraudulent person or infringe on people they don't like's rights, etc.?
Well, to be brutally honest, which I want these to be, and I'll probably cover it in a different topic, but I do think that they are a lesser manifestation of what I think, of the direction I think humanity should be going in, because we're clearly not going in the right direction, because people are just multiplying like crazy, and it's pretty clear to see that there are a lot more useless, idiotic people in the world than there are like people who contribute to society and are able to think for themselves and make educated decisions on information that they're given. So, I mean, I don't want to get too much into that because I was planning on doing it in a different discussion.
I get it. Yeah, the parallel I was going to discuss with guns is, guns being, under the microscope as well, especially in the United States. It's people who, use guns to defend themselves or hunt are kind of painted into this same group of people that use guns to do horrible acts like school shootings or drive-bys. I mean, the gun crimes in Chicago, Illinois in 2017 so far are out of control, where I just don't think it's fair to, like, the people that use guns to kill their fellow man rather than to defend themselves or hunt or what have you are kind of ruining it for everyone else that, just like hobbyists and people that use guns for good causes. So that's kind of the comparison that I wanted to make with religion. People that use religion as a means to be a better person, whether it be an organized religion or whether it be a spiritualized religion, I feel like we're not taking into account enough those people's feelings, because religion is being tarnished by the bad people that are taking advantage of it. And when you meet a religious person, honestly, do you, especially if they come across super religious, is your natural reaction to, like, trust them less?
Yes.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. I think I actually felt the same way on that once upon a time as well. If someone comes across as super religious, it's just a natural reaction. It's not something I choose to do. It's just, I feel like I should trust this person less. But at the same time, some part of me decided to, I don't know, I guess give some religious people the benefit of the doubt, because the way I've seen Christianity as the example, like I've explained, I think the pendulum swing has come back towards the center, and it's not as extreme as it used to be.
Anything else? Well, I mean, I could go on for hours about like specific things in religions that are easily debunkable or proven wrong in other ways, but that's not really what I want to go for. Like, I don't, as weird as it might seem, I'm not trying to make it seem like I think people who believe in this stuff are idiots. But I just think that people should be able to find their way in life without it.
Yeah, and that's, I can understand with that too, because every kind of, I did mention that I've turned to, like, I didn't necessarily turn to Taoism, but I feel like the teachings of Taoism help me cope with the hardships I've faced in life. And like I said, that's a spiritual religion, which you're not really attacking. But you know, I think there's something that we can learn, at least from most religions. I'm still not sure about Islam. It's really hard right now, but I think there's something we can take out of it that we can, you know, be like, oh, okay, let's be a better person, and I can use this teaching to be a better person in whichever way I see fit.
All right, so will that wrap this up then?
Sure.
Okay. So
hopefully we both kind of understand each other a little more on the subject.
Yeah, well, and that's what I want to go for, right?
Awesome.
And that is directed to anyone who is listening to this, that I encourage you to not like believe 100% of what I'm saying or what Trevor's saying. I want you to take what both of us have said, figure it out for yourself, and decide what you think is right for yourself.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment.
And everybody else can just write cancerous comments in the comment section, and we can have that whole debacle.
Sounds good.
All right, so until next time, we will see you later, and have a fun time, everybody.
Be good to each other. Do something nice for a stranger. The world could use it.
Yeah, do that. But you don't need religion to do it. Okay, bye.